Be prepared, right from the very start and throughout, for frank and confronting descriptions of sexual child abuse that some viewers may find upsetting.
Recorded.
Are you okay? Are you ready to tell me your story?
I'll always remember the physical force of his body on top of me. It's very physical.
I kicked him and I ended up on the floor at one point and he dragged me back up, and what I remember is him telling me to be quiet. Shush, shush, Emily, shut up, be quiet.
My father stopped midway through the abuse to say, you know, you don't talk to anyone about this, do you? Because, you know, Dad would go to prison. And I remember just being like, no.
"28-year-old Natasha lives in Leicestershire.
My mum's there. There he is with my mum and my grandma. No one would look at those and think, that's your dad, the paedophile. He just looks like a normal, caring, devoted dad. My mum and dad split up when I was around 2. The abuse started roughly when I was around 4. When I look back at my childhood, I see almost a 2-dimensional childhood. My Monday to Friday childhood, which was with my mum, my stepdad and my brothers, which was a typically normal childhood, holidays, ice skating, beautiful, lovely, picturesque childhood. And then I had my weekend childhood and it led to a secret. So my Monday to Friday happy childhood had this underlying secret, this dark place. With my father, it was almost a love-hate relationship. I so badly wanted that daddy-daughter relationship, daddy's little princess, things like that. I enjoyed the attention that I got from him. Me and my dad would always lie on the sofa together, and he would kind of be big spoon, I would be little spoon. I just remember his hand kind of wrapped around my stomach, and it was almost as if each week his hand got lower and lower and lower, until eventually one week his hand would go underneath whatever trousers I was wearing, but on top of my underwear. And then one week he'd go underneath my underwear. And then it just got more and more intimate to what I would now look at as foreplay. I was a really small kid and he was a bodybuilder, and he would always pretend to be asleep. And there was one incident where he rolled over and got really passionate, kissing my neck. He was grinding all over me. And at that point, I knew that was a boundary. He'd pushed it too far. Even though he already had, in my mind, that was the bit where he pushed it too far. And I panicked and I tried to get him off of me and tried, and I couldn't lift him off of me. And I don't remember how it ended, actually.
When 35-year-old Maya got married almost a decade ago, her father walked her down the aisle. But behind the smiles, there was a dark secret.
Grooming starts from the second you're born. You don't know any different. When you're very young, I say to my little one, behave for me today and I'll get you something, I'll treat you later. You know, he was at the hospital. Oh, just let the doctor have a look and Mummy will get you some sweets. And that's how it was for me. It was exactly like that. However, my bribes were not, can you go to the doctor and I'll give you a sweet? It's, can you touch me here? And then if I said, Daddy, I don't like that, then there had to be a tactic. Oh, you really love that toy. Do you want that toy? Just touch me here And you get the toy tomorrow. So there was always a favour. I mean, I worded the word favour because you had to do something to get something in return. For me, the very strong recollection memories are being very, very young, so I'd say four or five. Waking up every morning on the sofa of my front room with cartoons on, and my father would be crouched down beside me and stroking and touching my body. He would have his hand down his trousers, and it would be a hush, hush, keep watching. Oh, you love that. You love that cartoon. You know, it's your favourite cartoon. Hush, little princess, go back to sleep. My father's attention was on me 24/7. When I look back, jealousy was formed between me and my mother. She wanted that love, she wanted that attention, you know? So we had a very, very volatile relationship. We didn't have a mother and daughter relationship at all. And he always wanted her out of the house because it allowed more time to abuse me. When I look back on the grooming process, was just kind of a normal thing, but not normal. It's really hard.
"24-year-old Emily lives in Cambridgeshire. She grew up with her mum and two brothers after her parents separated when she was 7.
My relationship with my father was different. As soon as my mum left the picture, I was the next in line. The abuse started from about 7 years old. He wanted me to sit on his lap a lot, cuddle a lot, hug a lot, just a lot of touchy-feely stuff. He did it in a way that I couldn't really question because I was so young. He'd use it as a game, or he'd come into my room a lot, put me to bed, massages and stuff, but go a little too far. And now I look back, I can see it. It makes me feel sick, it makes me feel angry, it makes me feel quite disgusting. I never thought it'd come to this. If I'd known it'd come to this, I would have said something. But...
35-year-old Maya had been abused by her father throughout her childhood. But 12 years after leaving home, the ordeal she had buried in the past caught up with her.
In 2012, I went on a family holiday to Tunisia with my husband and my newborn son. He was a couple of years old. And whilst on holiday, we received the phone call that my father had been arrested and I needed to return back to the UK.
Over 60,000 sexual offences against children are reported yearly. Police had been anonymously tipped off about Maya's abuse. When they raided her father's home, they made a shocking discovery.
When he was arrested, they were telling me stuff that I did not know. You know, they were telling me stuff that the lights, the CCTV, what CCTV? In my head, it ended, I was 16, I left my home, and they tell me this new stuff and this new evidence that they've watched, and I'm saying, no, but that's not me, it can't be me.
Maya had no memory of much of the sexual abuse, as her father had drugged her. He filmed the abuse and then documented everything in a diary.
I asked the officer in the case if I could see the diary, and I remember her face. And she looked me straight in the eyes to see whether I could be resilient enough. And she put it in front of me, and it was a full, very detailed, recorded event of my whole life. There was a lot of numbers. The numbers that recorded how many times abuse or rape was taking place. And he scored me on a level of 0 to 10 for that particular rape.
Maya made the difficult decision to watch some of the recordings.
I watched one video in particular that will stay with me the rest of my life. But I'm glad that I read that, watched that one. It was one where I was very, very young. I was wearing my, like the primary school pinafore type dresses that we used to wear with the checks on. And I had my little white socks up to my knee. And I was sat down on the bed in my father's bedroom. He was standing above me and he was masturbating. And I remember listening to the words on the video where I said, "Daddy, are you happy now?" I watched the second video and it was a very, very physical, violent video. He was recording me and he was asking me to get ready, to be prepared. This is a big day. This is where Daddy just gives you everything that you've ever wanted. This is where we become, I love you so much. And he's joking on the video. And I'm coming off the bed going, can you just stop now? Can you just get away from me now? Can you come off me now? And he's laughing, and that's when I hit him and I kicked him, and the camera that he was using fell to the floor and went black. So that for me was what I needed to watch. I needed to know that I tried in my best possible way to fight this man. Yeah.
In March 2012, Maya's father, Edward Colby, pleaded guilty to the charges brought against him. He was sentenced to 10 years imprisonment. Also being preyed upon by her own father was Emily. With her parents separated, Emily's dad took advantage of his time alone with her, so she'd often take her best friend Jade when she went to stay with him.
It was nice to have a friend come up. Yeah, she was company, but I think she was almost protection as well for me. Let's sit here.
Yeah.
Were you ever worried about coming up and stuff? I don't know.
Sort of. I'm not going to lie. Obviously, I wouldn't want to tell you that because I'm my best friend. But yeah, he was really strange. And
Did you ever get that feeling?
It was like some weird flirting feeling. Like he would, even though we were so young. And I remember, do you remember all the time? You would wear shorts under your dresses just in case that he would, he would look.
Felt like he was always looking, but in like the wrong sort of way. Yeah, he was. There was just something.
I know.
It's not normal.
But you wouldn't think that at that age because he was, he was your dad, so.
When Emily was 17, she went to stay at her dad's house with her brothers. But on this particular weekend, Jade didn't go with her.
So he was filling up everyone's glasses. It was red wine, unlimited red wine, which is probably why I didn't notice how much he was filling mine up and how much I was drinking. I hadn't noticed until I stood up to go to the bathroom how drunk I actually was, and it was one of my first times of ever being that drunk. I'd always been a bit tiddly maybe, but like that was, I could barely walk. So I made it to the bottom of the stairs, and I remember blacking out, and then I remember waking up and he's behind me. I'm halfway up the stairs and then I black out. Then I end up in my room, the door closed, my brothers are still downstairs. To just make it seem normal, he was putting me to bed, he was looking after me. This is what they thought, this is what I thought. I blacked out again, only to find that he was on top of me, doing things he shouldn't be doing, trying to take my clothes off. I was getting blacked out. In a way, I'm thankful for how drunk I was. That sounds horrendous, but I am, because I don't remember a lot of it. But I remember enough to still, for it to be painful. I kicked him kicked him and I ended up on the floor at one point and he dragged me back up, and all I remember is him telling me to be quiet. Shush, shush, Emily, shut up, be quiet. And I woke up with scratches. I woke up with cuts on my legs and scratches from trying to get away. I don't know how long he was in there for, I don't know, but yeah.
Had you ever had sex before?
I'd never had sex before, no, that was my first time. Yeah.
During the years of abuse Natasha suffered at the hands of her father, she lived with her mother, Gina.
We have that mother-daughter relationship at times. At times we have been known to be a bit like sisters, like best friends. And then there have been moments where we've been like strangers, you know, we've been through a lot.
Natasha moved out of her mother's home at 17, 2 years before reporting her father's crimes, and has never discussed the sexual abuse with her.
She's got a very feisty personality. She works off of impulse, whereas I calculate and I think about what I'm about to say, what I'm about to do. You and I both know we haven't had a proper talk about what exactly happened. I just want to know, like, the first time you ever heard about it.
The first time I ever
Do you
heard,
remember it?
If I remember rightly, the first time I ever heard about it is when I got a phone call from the police.
Okay, and how did they word it?
They said, Natasha, your daughter has made allegations against Mr. Peter Wilson. Well, you know something? This is no word of a lie. The minute I heard that, I wanted to throw up. I nearly passed out. Because I could not believe it. I'm hearing this. And also, you didn't show the signs of, like, I'm not being funny.
What are the signs?
Okay, the signs I would be wetting the bed, not doing well at school. Think about it.
I sense that you're on the defence, and I don't want you to feel like that. I don't want you to feel like that. You're not on a
Yeah,
stand.
because I think
No,
you think that
no.
I knew.
No, I think that...
Let me tell you something. If you had told me, you know what I would have done to him if you had told me. And I've told you that many times.
Let me go back
You
a
think
step.
that I knew and I just
No.
quite happily have sent you there. No,
No.
I don't think so.
No.
No, that's what
I don't
you
think that. You know, this isn't something where I'm blaming you. The type of abuse we're talking about was non-penile digital penetration.
Digital. What's digital? What's
Digital
non-digital?
is with your fingers.
Why didn't you not tell me that? See, I didn't know any of that. See, now you're telling me this. Go on, carry on.
I can't.
Carry on. Tell me.
I can't because it's like I've never told you.
Yeah. And I still don't know exactly what is it he's supposed to have done. All I heard was something about him coming out the shower with no clothes and lying on top of you.
Yeah,
is that true? I want to know, is that true?
Yeah, I couldn't get
You
him
see,
on.
so can you imagine?
You're not
Can you
letting me.
imagine if you told me that then?
Do you
what
want to
would...
hear it then?
Yeah, go on.
That was when he'd have this shower, he'd put his boxers on, he'd say, let's have a cuddle in the bed. And then that's where he started to get more intimate and started to get really passionate, kissing my neck, and he was grinding on me. And because he was bodybuilding at the time, I couldn't get him off me.
Oh my God. You carried on like that?
I just wanted to carry on and forget about it. I genuinely thought, with no exaggeration, that the moment I told my mum that she would go to the kitchen, get a knife, get in the car, go and find my dad and actually murder him. Do you feel that I took away your opportunity to protect me?
Yes, you did. Yeah, you did.
You sound like you're telling me off now.
Yeah, I'm telling you off now because you should really have come to me and told me.
Okay, Mum, are you going to cut me some slack, please?
What do you mean I'm cutting you some
Because
slack?
I'm feeling really under fire right now.
No, because even when let me just tell you something. When I found out about these allegations, I thought, I cannot believe how she kept it for so long. If you told me when you were in primary school, this wouldn't have carried on, it would have been dealt with. But you didn't give me that opportunity. You just thought, you know what? I'm not going to tell my mom because I know she's crazy. She'll flip the lid and do something to Dad.
Okay.
That's what you thought, yeah.
Okay, so...
Okay, you were right to think that, which, yeah, possibly would have happened.
So you're saying that I didn't handle it right?
No, you did, but you didn't give me the opportunity to sort it out. Think about it. I should have sorted it out, not you. You took the burden on. You did. You should have let me sort it out.
I handled it. I think I made the right decision.
Yeah, but I think sometimes I failed you. I think if you would have told me earlier, I would have sorted him out. You wouldn't have had to have carried this on.
You feel like you failed me? That's the first time you've ever said that.
Okay, lovely.
No.
Natasha waited until she was 19 to report her father to the police, but it looked like he would escape punishment.
I made that first allegation in 2010. By 2012, I remember receiving that phone call to say that the case was not going any further. There wasn't enough evidence. It was a punch to the gut, but at the time of making the allegations, it was important to me not only to follow through with my own allegations, but to make sure that nothing ever could happen to any more children, anyone that was around him.
In 2012, Natasha reported her father to the police for sexually abusing her as a child. But the case was dropped due to lack of evidence.
2 years later, 2014, I then received a phone call from a police officer in Leicester to say that there had been another allegation about my father. I didn't know who, she didn't say who.
Natasha's case was reopened.
When my police officer called me up and said I've arrested him, there was a part of me that did still feel guilty for getting him arrested, because I thought to myself, what if he isn't that person anymore? What if he has actually stopped doing that and he's going to now go to prison? What if he's a changed man?
Ready, steady, go!
During the court case, Natasha learnt the identity of her father's other victims. He'd also sexually abused her cousin Christopher and stepsister Sophie.
Tea's ready, guys.
All right then, guys. Long time no see.
I know. We are still getting to know each other.
Yeah.
From being children to now.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even remember Sophie.
Sophie's the daughter of my father's third wife, the wife he had after my mother. And I would see her on the weekends when we went to visit. We'd play outside together, we had sleepovers, you know, we slept in the same bunk bed and, you know, we got on really, really well.
Long blonde jetty hair. Always sat in the corner, didn't speak to nobody.
Yeah, that was them.
I just remember, yeah, with the blonde curtains.
Yeah.
Natasha always in a dress, dolly shoes.
The last time I saw Christopher, I remember he was about 15 or 16. He's 6 years older than me, and I haven't seen him for 20 years or so, up until the court case.
It's one thing already feeling vulnerable once you're there, but we all needed to be strong for each other to give our best evidence,
I
didn't
did
we?
feel still intimidated by him when I was giving my victim impact statement because of his expressions. He still, to me, made us feel guilty. Sitting there still shaking his head, denying it.
When I walked in to court and I saw her, she just looked so vulnerable and scared, and my heart just broke. I thought, oh my God, it's true. She did get abused. And of course, I instantly believed it because I know Sophie, and I knew that she was the right target for him in the same way that I was the right target for him.
I don't even really know how old you were at the time when things happened and how long for. You know, did it happen while I was going there?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I was 6 years old. So I'd get up in the night, go to the toilet, go and get in their bed. That's when it'd happen. And then he'd just toddle me back to bed. And it happened night in, night out for 2 years. I feel that victim now because in my mind it's there in black and white on record. Before it wasn't. It was just my word saying, I've been sexually abused.
I felt like I was a victim up until the court case, until everybody knew. So I'd spent all that time thinking that I was a liar. And now I'm not.
The judge actually said to my dad, you know, your family is basically a massive web of lies and secrets that have been... Yeah, that's what he said. He said they've been brushed under the carpet for years and years, until now.
With his secrets exposed, Peter Wilson was sentenced to 12 years imprisonment for 10 counts of indecent assault.
Don't have sugar, do you, Mum?
No, thank you.
No.
Sweet enough.
In 2011, aged 17, Emily had been raped by her dad when she'd gone to stay with him for the weekend. Emily couldn't hide the fact that something terrible had happened to her from her mother, Karen.
What we do is we get...
I remember her walking through the door and she looked upset.
She looked at me and she knew immediately I wasn't okay. She didn't know what had happened, but she knew immediately. Mum's instinct.
I hadn't dreamt that what was going to come. And she told me that he'd raped her. And it was like listening to somebody else. It was very strange, and it took me a little while just for it to sink in.
She cried, but it wasn't immediate. She didn't know what to say, she didn't know what to do. I don't even remember all of it. I was in tears, I wouldn't even look at her.
And I actually didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. I just stood there. I didn't know what to do. It was a horrible, horrible feeling.
The police were called and they arrested Emily's dad. Following a lengthy trial, Robert Hawksworth was convicted of child rape and sentenced to 9 years in prison.
It was very difficult. It was very difficult to get up in the morning because it was there. It was very difficult to go to bed because it was there. It was on our minds, it was in our lives 24 hours a day. And what you had to do was try and get on with your life. And you can't. You can't. Because it changes you. It changes you and it changes the family. And I never, ever thought it would end. I just thought this was it now for the rest of our lives. And it's quite incredible. And I know it's a very, an old cliche, but time is a fantastic healer. And when you're going through it, you cannot possibly imagine that your life will get better, but it does. It does. Strangely, it does.
Following years of sexual abuse at the hands of her father, Maya left Essex behind to start a new life. Now, more than a decade later, she's decided to return.
Going back into that space, going back into that place is a symbol for me to say that I'm not scared, that I can't keep running away. I've spent many, many years running through fear, and now there's nothing for me to run away from. You can't hurt me, and I'm free to be able to return to the place that I used to call my home. Going by myself to Essex, I thought would create the anxiety. I thought that would create more fear. But I grew up alone. I grew up very isolated, and I'm still very lonely in my journey. And I'm ready to conquer the last part of that journey alone.
These roads, if ever we needed to go for a serious talk, then this is where we would come. We always used to go for a drive, especially when we'd had an argument or I'd threatened to disclose, or maybe I'd threatened to call the police. The seafront has a lot of memories as well. It's where I used to escape. So I actually worked there when I was about 14, 15, trying to earn money to be independent and to get away from him.
My father controlled every aspect of my life. He was what I would call a serial stalker. And there was an ongoing joke with my friends, here comes your dad in the white van, and we'd all jump and hide. He was always just there. He was the man in the white van that was behind me.
One of the car journeys that sticks in my head is when he went down to the seafront, when he said that if anybody ever found out or I ever spoke out, he would kill himself because life wouldn't be worth living. And I remember he'd had a petrol can. He locked the car doors and he showed me exactly how he would filter through the petrol can and set us on fire.
Growing up, he would use the threats of, I would kill myself. I believed that with a deep, deep ingrained belief, and I could not be responsible for his death.
Quite emotional. It's really going back. Yeah.
In Cambridgeshire, 24-year-old Emily has moved on with her life.
Come on. When I first met Barney, I don't know what I expected. At that point, I was going through some crazy stage still, I think some reckless stage. I was going out all the time, I was acting wild, I was going against what my mum wanted me to do.
Nice day, Barney.
It's a nice day.
Nice day for a walk.
Emily had to deal with the trial and conviction of her father at just 18. It took almost 3 years before she was able to begin her first serious relationship.
When I realised I was in love with him was quite a lot later on. I think he fell for me first, and then it took me a lot longer, but then what do you expect after what I've been through? I do struggle with intimacy. Even as far as holding hands, I struggle with doing that because it brings back those painful memories of, even though it's not the same feelings, but obviously my dad wanted me to hold his hand all the time in public, and maybe that's wanted me to hug him and like things like that. Maybe that's why I don't like public signs of affection with Barney. It goes as far as that too. Intimacy, and every level of intimacy is difficult.
It took 6 months before Emily could share her past with Barney.
When did I tell you? Was it the bonfire?
When we had that fire in your garden.
I was going to say it wasn't really a bonfire.
Yeah, and you kind of just said you wanted me to read it and gave me this news clipping, and I was just a bit, what's this? And yeah, I had a little read and...
I don't think I could say it myself.
Yeah,
so
well, that's understandable. It was just a bit of a shock when I found out that one of the people in your life that you should have trusted all the way through could have done something like that to an innocent girl.
I was scared to tell you. I knew you wouldn't take it badly, but it's not really...
Yeah, it wasn't going to change anything. But yeah, it was a bit of a shock.
But it can't have been easy for you
to... Well, it is what it is. Like, it helped me understand why you were a bit...
angry.
Yeah. I wasn't going to let you push me away or anything.
Well, I think that's why I told you, though. I think deep down I probably didn't want to lose you.
All we can do now is look towards the future and build from there.
To get to the good place that we're at now, to get to to be comfortable with each other as we are now. Yeah, I had to sit Barney down and explain to him. He did struggle. I don't think he admits that, but he did struggle. It was just getting him to understand what it had done to me mentally. You know, it's not the same. I'm not the same as someone else, unfortunately. He's just been that rock that I needed. I almost couldn't believe maybe that someone could love me because of how I'd been left to feel. Felt a bit worthless, and he's completely changed the way I feel about myself. I don't know, it was almost as if I was meant to meet him and he was meant to do that. I sort of, in a way, deserved him.
Today, Emily is preparing for the birth of their first baby.
So when I found out I was pregnant, we found out the gender. Barney didn't want to, but I wanted to know so I could plan. I think secretly Barney having a little son to play rugby and stuff, he's well chuffed, so. I think I was relieved that I didn't have a daughter. in a way, I didn't want her to go through anything that maybe I had gone through. I don't know. There are some things I'm nervous about. Normal things, like having running around, you know, without anything on, which is completely normal at a young age, at a toddler age and all that stuff, but I'm going to struggle with a lot of things.
While Emily looks to the future, Maya will face her past to gain closure.
And it was behind that window there. That was my bedroom.
Leg round us.
For the last 2 decades, Natasha has had her own unique way of dealing with the sexual abuse she suffered at the hands of her father.
I started kickboxing when I was 8 years old, and it was absolutely vital, helping me get through childhood.
Left hook.
It's clear now why I became so obsessed and addicted to kickboxing as a release. It was something that could stay consistent, something that I'm in control of.
Jag has been Natasha's kickboxing coach for 20 years.
Do you remember when I first came out and told you what happened to me when I was like 17, 18?
Yeah.
One of the first things you said to me was that you'd never seen a young girl like punch that hard. Do you remember?
Yeah, at the time, from the age of 8 till you actually told me, I just thought you were naturally talented. You know, we do get people that come here, some are great and some are not, and some have got natural talent. I just thought, oh, this one's a little diamond in the rough, and, you know, she's just got everything what we need to become a brilliant kickboxer. But I didn't realise at the time that you're actually channeling all this, you're hiding and masking everything and using it. I remember I always said to you, Tash, turn that switch on. And every time I say that, you'll turn the switch on, and it's like you just had this focus and goal and you just won't give up.
Just any moment where things weren't going so well, first thing I would say to you is get me a fight.
Yeah.
And when things are going well, that's not the first thing in my mind. I'll just cruise through life.
It was that fight you got inside yourself. You're just taking all that built-up aggression and you were channeling it, whichever way, whether you were fighting in the ring or training. That was your focus, you know what I mean? And I always said, Tash, turn that switch on. But I never knew what that switch was, because to me, you were just normal. You're always normal, always smiling, always happy, you know?
Jag, my coach, became a father figure to me. He is the one constant that I've had from when I was 8 all the way till now. You know, he was there at the court case, and I looked up to him immediately. He was everything to me, and he still is.
I think you do need to realise that, like, and it's weird to say this, I don't actually think I'd be here. I really don't, if this gym didn't exist. And now you're getting all soft.
Yes.
All good?
In Essex, Maya has returned to her childhood home, where her father had sexually abused her.
I've not been here for 10, 15 years. I'm feeling, I wouldn't say vulnerable, but feeling a little bit exposed, I think. A little bit uneasy because it's the first time that I've been back. These are the garages that we would always play out here. This holds for me the memories of growing up, having fun, coming home from school, desperate to get into the garages, to hang out, cause a bit of chaos, have the neighbours calling out, go play somewhere else. So this area in particular is actually quite a nice reminder. It's actually quite nice to come back and to reflect on that.
But there are very few happy memories of her old home.
That's the house. Yeah. Yeah, it's changed a little bit, obviously. They've upgraded it and it looks not much nicer to how it used to be when I grew up there. But yeah, so that's the house that I grew up in. And this is what would be once upon a time was the square that we used to play out in. It was behind that window there. That was my bedroom. So, yeah. And it actually makes me quite angry, I think more so now. being able to reflect back on the innocence that a child was behind that window, and there was so much silence and nobody would know what was going on there. My father would always tell me that he loved me too much. And the too much part was that he couldn't keep his hands off me. Oh, it's cold. It feels quite claustrophobic in here, actually. Yeah, I think the imagination has played a big part over the years, because it just felt like it was so much a bigger place and a bigger area, but it's very, very small, very small. It was absolutely unbelievable to imagine really how I've survived any of it, you know? It's hard enough as a child to connect the mind and the body when you're going through abuse, because you have to go into survival mode. It just goes beyond, I think, comprehension. It really does. It does feel like a healing process, and it feels like a part of the closure. I think that I've needed to return back into a place that held a lot of fear, held a lot of power and control over me as a person. I used to be quite anxious about coming here, but as I stand here in this exact place, I don't feel anxious about it at all.
For Natasha, talking to her mum about how her father sexually abused her has been an important step.
The chat that I had with my mum, it lifted a weight off my shoulders. And it was almost like there's been a 20-year build-up to this moment. And yeah, it was much needed. It was liberating. That's the word for it. It was liberating for both of us. When I think about the future now, it's about empowering anyone that I can come across, anyone that opens up to me, and showing what it means to be a person who has endured child sex abuse. It does not mean the end. You're not forever tainted. So the future for me is bright, and I'm looking forward to it.
The future's also bright for Emily. 6 weeks ago, she gave birth to her son, Percy.
Long old delivery. You go through all of that, but then you completely forget about it as soon as he's here. Becoming a mum was amazing. It completely changes you in like one night. You go from a child to an adult, but it's probably the best thing ever. Easily the best thing ever. You're too strong for your age. Here you go. Telling my story and telling my mum right at the start, even though I wasn't going to, my life would be so different now, and I probably wouldn't even have him. Probably wouldn't have met Barney. Probably would have just behaved completely differently. Okay, I need a big burp. Come on. Come on. Hey! There's something. Think if anyone looks at him funny, goes near him, or just harms the hair on his head, they'll have me to deal with. Very protective. I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. But he's, because of everything that happened to me, he's special and he's mine. I need to look after him.